Mrs. Arnold, how wonderful to see you in town.
Oh, it's been such a long time.
Good evening, ladies. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Captain George Mendel with the Corps of Engineers. I'm down here with the 1st Oregon Volunteer Infantry.
How do you do, Captain? I'm Mrs. Elizabeth Arnold, and this is my friend, Mrs. Mary Ellen Collins.
Pleased to meet you. I'm down here on a military mission. I'm going to be doing some surveying for military roads, and I understand this area here is a place where townspeople gather to exchange information.
Oh, it certainly is. Here and at the town pump and the general store, everybody's gathered around these days, mostly talking about the war between the secessionists and the Union supporters.
First one and then the other. It's gotten so bad that it's one neighbor against another and one community against another.
Now, I did hear that some people are unhappy about the local Oregon militia. They say that they parade around town in their brand new uniforms like popinjays and set up social clubs and social events and picnics. A fine bunch of feather-bed soldiers. I understand that even one of them got shot by his own men when they were celebrating Union victory, the only casualty in Southern Oregon.
Oh, I'm not surprised. They're not doing much of anything as far as I can tell. I get so tired of those soldiers all around town. And I get so tired of the war talk and the daily arguments. My husband and I thought when we moved to this free state of Oregon, we'd be away from all that conflict. Not so.
We hear up in Fort Vancouver that you have a lot of secessionists in the area. They even call it Little Dixie occasionally.
I've heard that term too, Captain. And we do have our share of Southern sympathizers. Why, take that Ish family. They moved here a couple of years ago from Virginia, sold off all their property back in 1860, and moved out here to get away from the conflict. You can't tell me they didn't have slaves back there, and 4 brothers.
And Captain, the last 2 editors of our local newspaper, the Oregon Sentinel, both were forced out because of their strong Southern leanings. Both Mr. O'Meara and Mr. Thibault.
And talk about strong feelings. Why, did you hear what happened when Dr. Ganung's wife Zini saw that Confederate flag flying from the flagpole? Why, people sitting right there and not doing a thing about it.
What was that all about?
Lordy, she chopped down that flagpole single-handedly, while the people sitting right here at this bench just stood and watched. They didn't do anything, and she tucked that rebel flag under her apron and marched right across the street with people just staring. They say she burned that flag in her own fireplace.
Really? Didn't anybody try to stop her?
Well, nobody wanted to admit to actually putting that flag up. And in addition to the axe that she had in one hand, she had a loaded revolver in the other hand.
Well, it sounds like you got some folks who are definitely for the North and strongly for the South in the area.
Oh, that's so true. People here in Jacksonville and Gold Hill clearly do favor the South. But Mrs. Arnold, don't you think in Ashland and Talent and Phoenix that a lot of people support the Union?
Well, what I think is that most of the people, whether they have northern or southern leanings, do not want to see the spread of slavery here in Oregon. They just don't want slaves here in Oregon. I think they're glad that we're a free state.
Well, they may not want slaves, but I don't know many people who want free Negroes living around here either.
Oh, really? Didn't the exclusion law take care of that?
What's that?
Oh, you know, that's the part of our Constitution that says any free Negroes over 18 and Chinese and Hawaiians and mulattoes are required to leave the state unless they pay a $5 fee. And if they can't pay that fee, then they have to work on maintaining Oregon's roads. We're the only free state admitted to the Union with a law like that. But still, it's not as bad as our old Lash law. Oh, that was so terrible. Thank goodness we got rid of it maybe 20 years ago. Oh, it permitted Negroes and Chinese to be whipped if they didn't quit the territory. So nowadays, people think our exclusion law is okay, but then a lot of people say we're really not much of a free state after all.
Yeah, these differences of opinion occur everywhere. Even in the military, some of our officers who were stationed in the West have left to go back east and fight the Civil War. George Pickett, for one, went back to Virginia. John Bell Hood went back to Texas, and E. Porter Alexander is now the head of the Confederate artillery. Thank goodness most of the United States Cavalry in the area is loyal to the Union, and we do appreciate the work that the civilians are doing for the U.S. Sanitary Commission.
Why, Captain, I am head of the U.S. Sanitary Commission here in Jacksonville.
Well, imagine my meeting you here. Bless you and thank you for the work that you do. Do you realize that Oregon is the most productive contributor to the effort, even more so than the eastern states?
I take great pride in that.
Oh, tell me, Mrs. Arnold, what does the U.S. Sanitary Commission do? I haven't heard of it before.
Well, for one thing, they inspect soldiers' camps back east for disease, and they also make diet recommendations and clothing, and they take care of wounded soldiers on both sides.
Oh, I like that. Anything else?
Well, yes, they do just about anything that the government cannot or wasn't prepared to do. The government had no idea how many injuries and deaths that would come out of this horrible war.
That's right. We've had more casualties from disease than we've had from combat. What else does the civilian, the Sanitary Commission do?
Well, talking about injuries, at the hospitals, they make directories of all the wounded soldiers so that when the wives and the mothers come looking for them, they can actually find them. And they've also established some soldiers' homes.
Oh, that is good. But what are we doing right here in Jacksonville? Might be able to help.
I hope so. We collect money, you know. Just last month, we had a town hall meeting, and all the important people from Jacksonville came and made pledges to the U.S. Sanitary Commission. And then there's that box we put together every month. And we try to include things inside like old chloroform and brandy and other painkillers and bandages, of course, and some canned meal.
Excuse me, ladies. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I really have to get back to my unit. I appreciate the time I've had with you. Thank you for the great information and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, Captain. Nice to have met you. He left before we could tell him where the latest gold strike was.
And that would be important when he's surveying for roads in the area. But he
It would
seemed
be.
like a nice man, don't you think?
I'm very nice.
Let's go.
Take those things out of the pocket.